I was working with a client this week and we were trying to think about what success might look like for them in 3 to 5 to even 10 years. And it's a question I've been thinking about my own work a lot recently as a coach. When I sat down with this client and we tried to define success, every number just felt off. If impact is the goal and numbers don't tell the full story, how can you tell if you're being successful? How can you tell if you're making a difference? That's what today's video is about. I want to give you a better way to measure the worth of your work and understand whether what you're doing truly matters. Hello YouTube, welcome. If you're new around here, my name's Adam. I'm a strategic coach for nonprofits and entrepreneurs and creators. I have a long history of working in art and film and technology and journalism, helping to grow and scale businesses that I would call impactful. They were definitely purpose-driven. And of course, in all of those fields, we tended to track our impact with numbers. It doesn't really matter who you are. If you're a musician, you're probably tracking, of course, your Spotify streams or your Patreon numbers. If you're a nonprofit organization, you might be tracking how many people you've trained or the reach of your communication programs. If you're a fundraiser, you'll be looking at your funding pipeline or how much money you managed to bring in last year. And if you're an entrepreneur or creator, you're definitely looking at subscribers and definitely looking at your revenue. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with tracking those things, but I think it's really important to understand that numbers can be misleading. They measure activity, of course, they're definitely measuring how busy we are, but do they really measure our worth in the world and whether we are making a difference, reaching people, engaging people in the way that we want to? And that question is vital if you want to build any kind of organization or life of purpose. I'll give you an example. So look, I could set myself a goal for this YouTube channel, which is really a creative hobby at this point, but I could set myself a goal of, by the end of the year, I would love to reach 5,000 subscribers. That would be like, I would be so happy with that. But I could also set myself a goal this year that I could try and give just one person confidence to take some of the lessons that I'm sharing, some of the experiences, some of the things I'm building in public, and make a significant change in their own life. Maybe give up their job or fundamentally change their organization in some way. Which of those two is more valuable? I know which one's easier to measure. Of course, it's the YouTube subscribers. It's the easiest to compare myself with other people. But really, the one that I want is I want to be able to change people's lives in some small way. I read a brilliant article this week. It's by Vicente Sanchez Gomez. And since I read it, I haven't stopped thinking about it. I've sent it to everyone that I'm working with. And essentially it breaks down the problem with the ways that we're measuring our work today, whether you're a creator, a musician, an entrepreneur, doesn't really matter. He breaks down that. He helps us understand why we are resting our measurements on certain fallacies. And I'm going to use that to suggest a different kind of framework to measure the value of your work that will hopefully lead to a more purpose-driven life and ultimately, I believe, more success for whatever it is that you want to do. So Sanchez Gomez critiques impact in 3 ways, and he calls them complexes. And in reality, the article is a little complex, so I'm going to break them down for you. The first is the quantitative complex, and this is the idea that we need to measure success only through numbers. Like I said, I'm down with the numbers. I've always used this in all of the businesses that I've worked in, from nonprofits to the tech startups that I worked in, to the film and music and things that I've done in my own life creatively as well. I've always used numbers and I've always relied on them. But Sanchez Gomez basically says we need to avoid solely using these kind of numbers and over-reliance, of course, on surface level or vanity metrics. This is the idea that we pick metrics that make us look good, but they don't really drive the key things in the business. The result of this, of course, is that organizations or people, creators, whatever, lead to only hitting the numerical target. So as a musician, you might start caring about your Spotify streams more than the quality of the music that you're putting out. As a coach, you might start thinking about taking on more and more coaching clients and bringing in more and more revenue rather than focusing on the depth of engagement that you're having and the results that your work is seeing on those people, what they're able to do, their impact in the world, whether they're happy with your work. If you're a non-profit, you might get fixated with how many people are following you on LinkedIn because you equate that with bigger reach for your organization. But of course, those two things do not equal each other. So Sanchez Gomez is encouraging us to move away from the ideas that numbers equals success, and I am fully with him on that. The second thing he highlights then is the scale complex. And this is the idea that success equals growth. I wrote an article about degrow journalism a few months ago, back last year, and a lot of people missed the point. What I was talking about was really redefining the idea of any kind of growth being a metric or a baseline for how we understand the value of journalism. Gone are the days when we need to look at how many people are reading the newspaper. I think a much more valuable metric is one that would understand, do people need the information that we're providing them? Are we helping them with their lives? Are we helping them make better decisions? All those things are much, much more important, and they're much more difficult to measure. And the challenge of this is that we are obviously then, when we focus on the numbers and numbers that equate to growth, is that we're constantly thinking about scaling up rather than quality or the depth of impact that we're having. I know this also from personal experience running a large nonprofit. We did a lot of very big initiatives that did kind of European-wide training or grants programs. Those were really valuable, but we also did a lot of small values-based network and community work. And I know for a fact that those had a much larger impact and were much more progressive and supporting of our values than the very, very big programs that we did. The third thing Sanchez Gomez then talks about is the compartmentalization complex. This is essentially values washing. This is where the right hand and the left hand are doing different things. At the front of the shop, at the website, we've got the shiny slogans, social good, feels really nice. But the practices of the business, the operational stuff behind closed doors, does not match that. So you might be someone who is looking to do some kind of social good in the world, and you are maybe, promoting fairness or fighting inequality, but you're not paying your staff properly. You're not thinking about where you're investing your money and whether that might be doing some kind of harm. You are essentially promoting harmful business practices behind closed doors, while front of house, you're talking about social responsibility and all this great stuff. And look, I'm not immune to that either. I talk a lot about open source software, the importance of ownership when it comes to tech platforms, and I use Google to send my email. Am I being really sustainable and thinking about climate change as much as I should be in all of my activities and my consumer habits? Definitely not. So I'm not immune to this as a single person. We don't need to just level this at massive corporations, but I think anybody who is thinking about a purpose-driven life, a purpose-driven business, needs to examine every single part of what they do. It is not enough to just look at the impact and the way you measure things and talk about things and say, we're doing good in the world, without looking at every single aspect of your business, from governance to revenue streams to how you treat your staff, and asking, is all of this sustainable and in line with my values? Values offsetting is one of the most dangerous things that comes when all we do is look at numbers and chase numbers. So I promised you a better way, and I think we can take these three critiques and build on something he calls a values-based framework for impact. And I want to walk you through that now so that you can apply it to your own life or business, whether you're, like I say, a creator, a coach like me, whether you're running a big non-profit, whether you're running a journalism organization, whatever you might be. I think there's an approach that you can take to start asking the right kind of questions to say, fine, track the numbers, let's look at the subscribers and the revenue, but is there a way that I can also look at values and understand impact in a deeper way? So the first part of this then is, can I define success beyond just the number? So instead of revenue and subscribers, what other values-based metrics can I build into my business? What kind of questions can I ask on an ongoing basis that will interrogate whether I'm staying aligned to my true values and whether I'm having impact in the world? So these might be questions like, are these the clients I want? It is possible for me to take on corporate and large clients who pay quite a lot of money, but these are not the clients that I want. They're not making the change in the world that I want to see, that I've aligned my business around. And when I turn them down, I'm leaving potentially a lot of money on the table, but that is a trade-off that I'm really willing to make. And don't get me wrong here, there is a baseline of work that everyone needs to do. And if you are needing to take on corporate clients in order to sustain the rest of your work, I am not saying that that's not a thing. We've all done it. I do it myself as well. I think you can also ask yourself questions around, what kind of business am I building? Where do I want to go with this thing in the long term? My coaching business, I'm not looking to be a millionaire. I'm not looking to sell it to someone or get to some mythical revenue figure. All I want to do is get enough revenue that I can have a nice work-life balance, spend time with my family, do the things that I want to do, and live without worrying about money. So the second part of the approach is, how can I track progress using values-driven metrics? So that is beyond revenue and subscribers, and of course I look at those things as well, and I have baselines and some expectations, and if I'm honest, spend way too much time in apps looking at whether I'm hitting those numbers. But I also have a scorecard that is more values-based, I guess. So I look at something like a client fit score. I evaluate all the clients that I'm working with and the potential clients and understand, do these clients fit with my values? And I can give myself a score at any given time, and I can look at how that's improved over the last year to 2 years, and also how it's going to go forward in the future, and if this is something that I need to work on. The next metric I look at then is referrals, of course. That is the strongest indicator in any service-based business as to whether you are providing value to people. Are people recommending you independently of you? If you're hustling constantly for testimonials, that's fine to a point, but really people need to be doing this independently, forwarding the newsletter, sharing your song without you, telling people that you're a great coach. That's what you need. Thirdly, I use a work-life balance check. I'm really tracking every hour that I work in the day, and I'm making sure that every week I'm limiting certain activities to a certain amount of time. So if I'm working too much on admin, I know something's going wrong in the business. But I'm also tracking how much free time I have as well, how much time for creativity. If those numbers are not big enough, then I know that I'm probably doing something wrong and I need to recalibrate slightly. We can then move this forward, not just to reflect on what we're doing, but also think about things in the future. So we can use impact and values to make better decisions. When I'm thinking about a coach, I'm going to ask, does this person and their work align with my core values? If you are a creator, you might put out video and say, is this doing what I want to do? Is it helping people in a certain way? Is it entertaining people in the way that I want to? Does it really fundamentally ask a question that someone's looking for? If it doesn't, then maybe you need to rethink it. This channel is all about self-reflection, as I'm sure you've seen. I spend a lot of time here building in public, working through my thought processes on my business. It is the forum for me examining what I'm working on, and I like to try and share that to help other people do something similar. And I recommend that you do the same. Take a day, a month, and just check in with yourself. You might want to use something like the start, stop, continue framework, where you ask yourself, what should I start doing? What should I stop? And what should I continue doing in the months ahead, to try and interrogate whether you are really aligned with your values and the work that you're doing right now is both making you happy and providing value to the world. The fifth and then final part of the approach, I guess, is a mindset shift. And this is about redefining growth, of course. So for me, this is about, for instance, attracting high quality clients rather than just more clients. Am I able to bring on board folks who I can really support in a deep way and really deeply impact the work that they're doing? And as a result, hopefully get some more money from them directly, rather than spreading myself really thin and providing a very thin layer of support to tons and tons of people. Ultimately, I think that's going to be more sustainable for me in the long run and also have more impact in the world. So growth for me also means, do I have a growth in my own free time, my flexibility, and my creative work? Is the core of my business enabling me to do other things that I want to do, whether that is providing free open source tools to people affected by funding shifts, which I've been trying to do this week and last week? Is it about having space for my creative projects? Last year I was able to release a new album, which was really important for me. Whatever it is and whatever your goal is, maybe that's more important than money and revenue. Maybe you need to look at time as the key indicator and whether you're freeing up flexibility for yourself to do things that you really care about, hanging out with your family, creative projects, looking after yourself. So that's it, that's how I work. I've got a little checklist that I go through. Am I providing for my family in a way that feels sustainable? Am I providing deep support for the people that I work with? Am I truly doing work that I enjoy, not just what scales? Do I have time to create and learn? I know that's so important for me. And finally, am I reading in the evenings? That is my key metric. That is the one that shows me if my life and work are balanced. If I have the energy to read in the evenings, then I'm doing something right. If I don't, then I probably also don't have the energy I need to be fully present for my son, to be a great husband, to be a support to friends and family, all those kind of things. So you can also find very tangible metrics. How many books you read in a year might actually equate directly to the type of business or life that you want to lead. My challenge to you is, can you take the old measures of success, like revenue or subscriptions, and think about putting them alongside these more new and nuanced versions of success, impact, and growth? So we're thinking about depth, we're thinking about sustainability, we're thinking about alignment with values. Can you make those things as important? Can you spend as much time checking those things in dashboards and thinking about those things as you can sat in the YouTube Creator Studio, in the Spotify dashboard, in your LinkedIn Analytics account, or anywhere else in your organization. The data emerges and makes itself known. These numbers are fantastic, they're very easily available, but sometimes they don't tell the full story. And sometimes, if you want to lead a life of purpose, if you want to be aligned with your values, we need to look beyond the numbers and measure something else. Thanks for being here. If you found this interesting, just drop into the comments. What's a metric, a vanity metric maybe, that you've decided to abandon or move away from or didn't find helpful? And do you have a different kind of metric, a values-based metric that you find much more useful to measure your purpose, measure your impact, measuring whether you're happy and whether you're making the world a better place? Thanks for watching. See you next time.